Uh, first of all, first of all, I like to thank. To begin with, I would like to congratulate the entire team, chairperson ma'am, secretary ma'am, and best wishes for the entire year for the new team. And
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank the entire team to allow me to hold this session to share with you the practical insights on this topic, which is very hot as on date, especially considering that the same has become mandatory. It had become mandatory in 2022 itself in the phased manner, and now with the any FRN with the four or more partners effective from 1st April will require the valid peer review certificate on the date of acceptance of any audit. So any partner, irrespective where he or she is sitting, will require this certificate. And how to deal with it, because we are already on 29th February. Time is very short. And so how to deal with it, we'll discuss the practical aspects, and we can have two-way discussion. It's an open discussion. I'll share my thoughts and anybody can raise the query and I'll answer. That is not a challenge. And will please focus on the topic. It's a small request that whatever practical challenges you believe or you think you are already facing, if you have already preparation or activity started, you can raise any practical challenge which you are facing or which you believe you might face. Okay. So I can I share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I hope my screen is visible to all.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So this is actually, I was just going through with the ICAI peer review board website. So it's very easy. You simply, because I frequently open it, but if anybody wishes to open it, it's a very simple, just simply write ICAI peer review board. The very first link will be this one. And this time the chairman is from your southern region only, Prasanna ji. And I wish to bring to your notice very few particular things to begin with, the basic ones. This is the email ID on which all communications with the peer review board with respect to peer review will be made. Whether you need to apply for the peer review, whether you are expecting any submission, where you wish to raise any query, you wish to have a peer review, you wish to, as a peer reviewer, you wish to submit your peer review report, or even you will be getting your peer review certificate completion email or the peer review certificate number email. All emails will be through only this particular email ID. So this is the primary email ID and this is the primary telephone number. In case you wish to make any query or your peer review is stuck or any other thing you wish to discuss, just contact on this number. There is no challenge with respect to this number. You can make a call during the official working hours. It is very flexible. Things are, I mean, you can simply make a call and ask your query, or if your peer review activity has already started, you can get, you can tell them your FRN. All things are driven by FRN. So you can tell your FRN, mention your FRN over the call, and the representative over there will transfer your call to the respective executive who is handling your file. So this is the number in case you are having any issue with your peer review. This is the number on which you can talk to the person directly who is handling your file. Then after this, these are the two aspects. I mean, these are the guidelines and manuals. My primary focus is to discuss the practical challenges and the practical aspects. So firstly, I'll just run through run through the broad criteria, broad timeline or the procedure first. Broad procedure, if you can see, I have just clicked over here because ultimately, even after this session, if you wish to reconsider or just go through once again that what was the procedure, then you can simply refer this document itself. So this is the broad procedure. The very first step is filing form. This is the very first step. Form 1 filing or application filing is the very first step and is the most crucial step of this stage. The format of editable Word files, PDF files, and certain FAQs are available over here. For each step, peer review board has given all the formats and in editable Word file as well as in PDF. This is the first and most crucial step. Will spend good time on it. This is the form 1 which I'm opening. Please, it is a suggestion that you please, if you are facing any query in this form 1, please raise and discuss because it is wide. Each answer is subject to review by ICAI at very minute level. As a peer reviewer needs to verify supporting or basis for each of the answer. So when it comes to this particular part, application, this is basically self-service portal. Then this is which of the case falls under your case. New unit is the case where the peer review period or the constitution from the date of constitution, the firm is newly incorporated or incorporated in the last 12 months. Such unit is referred as new unit. So whatever is your case, you can simply specify over here. Then मैं थोड़ा zoom कर देता हूँ if it is not readable. I hope it is readable ना?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then it is majorly what all type of work you have done. You just need to tick. And this is the point. This is the question where you see at the time of peer review, what which peer reviewer you wish to have. This is you cannot decide. Okay, so peer review board gives you an option of a list of 3 peer reviewers from which you need to pick one peer reviewer. Okay, but location of the peer reviewer you can decide and you can specify over here. Let's say you are in Salem, you are having 3-4 branches. It is not necessary that you get the peer review done only from your HO. It is not necessary. You can get your peer review done even in the branch office. Further, you can even get a peer reviewer from anywhere across the country. Peer review can be conducted physically as well as virtually. Both models are permissible, effective from COVID. Okay, in whatever manner you want, you can get your peer review done based on the mutual agreement between you and the peer reviewer. In case you opt for, let's say the firm is established and situated at Salem. In case you want a peer reviewer from Salem itself, you can select this same city. In case you want a peer reviewer from Chennai or from Delhi, anywhere. Okay, so you need to select this particular second point, mark a tick over here, and then specify over here the location or the city or the state from where you want the peer. So this is to be filled carefully. From whichever location you want, you can fill that. Then accordingly, these are SSP self-service portal details, nothing much. Then this annexure, this can be easily filled from self-service portal. Here website is mentioned. I like to bring to your notice one thing that here whatever website you are mentioning, please ensure that the peer reviewer is subject to review the website as well. So basically, in the peer review report, Annexure 1 and Annexure 2, there is a specific query, a specific certification, or specific reporting, rather, I would say, on part of the peer reviewer, where the peer reviewer needs to confirm that the website of the practice unit complies with the guidelines issued by ICAI with respect to website. So the guidelines of with respect to website, they need to be checked. Plus, as a peer reviewer is subject to review that all the information on the website is in line with the self-service portal generated firm certificate. All the offices, all the branches, all the addresses, all the chartered accountants, or at least the partners are specified on the website, and whatever, I mean, they are working in sync. So whatever partners are whatever names are in your self-service portal, they are same in website. So please ensure before applying for peer review, please ensure that your website is in sync with the self-service portal and all other guidelines are met with. Then this question need not to be answered in case the firm is not part of a network registered with ICAI. Okay. Then this period of assurance under review. This is the this is one of the primary thing which you need to understand, because entire peer review goes around with entire peer review goes around with this particular question only. Entire peer review. So basically, peer review period in on whatever date you are applying. Let's say you apply today. So preceding 3 financial years are subject to peer review. If you are applying on 1st April 24, then again preceding 3 financial years, meaning thereby if you are applying it today, then the preceding 3 financial years would be 31st March 23, 22, 21, meaning thereby financial period starting from 1st April 2020 till 31st March 20. In case you are applying on or after 1st April, then 1 year will get increased. So respective years would be 31st March 24, 23, 20. So immediately preceding 3 financial years are subject to peer review. Meaning thereby, further I'll explain this. All signing dates, not the period of audit, but all signing dates falling between this period, these 3 years are subject to peer. So, irrespective of the UDI generation date, irrespective of the period such pertains to, but the UDI, but the signing date, if the signing date is falling, attestation date is falling between 1st April 2020 till 31st March 23, then such UDIN, such attest function, such attestation engagement is subject to peer. So be very careful. And how to do it? This is the format. This is basically, I'll cover intervening points as well. But because these 2 points are linked, so I'll cover together. This is the format in which client list is to be provided to ICAI. What you can do is you can get it converted to in your Excel format. Then in the Excel format, just add 2 columns to it. UDI and fees. Add before, this is the very first step. If you wish to get your peer review initiated, this is the first step. Ma'am, you saying something?
No, your voice was breaking in between. That's why I just you said 2 columns. One is Udin and the other one,
Fees.
please.
Yeah. So if I'm having it here now, so I'll show you actually. I'll show you the how the Excel is to be prepared. So in this manner, Excel is to be prepared. This is the very first step. It is my suggestion, do not start with filling your form 1 without filling this clientele list. This is the primary first step. Okay. And what you need to do is simply UDI, this column is to be added and this column is to be added. Okay. In your ICAI format, FY financial year is given in this manner. Instead of that, you can, for better presentation, you can add a column to it and present it in this manner. And then what you can do is, what you need to do is export all UIs for each partner who was there in the firm between this peer review period, irrespective of the fact whether such partner is there in the firm today or not. So even if the partner has retired, even if the partner has deceased, it doesn't matter. It doesn't bother. Okay, all partners who were there in the FRN as per self-service portal firm certificate between the peer review period. All such partners, you need to download the UDN for each such partner for the period 1st April 2020 till 31st May, not March, till 31st May 2023, because from UDN portal, it sorts the data based on the UDN generation date. So download the data from 1st April 2020 till 31st May 23 for each partner. Then it will be downloaded in Excel format. Then sort it out, put a filter on the column, on the cell of date of signing. Put a filter on that cell and remove two types of UDIs. Actually, three types of UDIs. One is the UDIs which have been revoked. They are no longer required. They are not subject to peer review. Secondly, in the out of the active UDIs, for the initial period which were generated after 1st April 2020 till 31st May 2020, but they pertain to a period before 1st April 2020. Because UDN could have been generated in 60 days. So if there was any UDN which was generated between 1st April 20 till 31st May 20, but the date of signing was falling before 31st March 20, then such UDNs need to be removed. And the UDNs which were generated after 1st April 2023 till 31st May 23, but the data signing was pertaining to a period before 31st March 23. They need to be included. So this opening and closing adjustment is required to be made, and you will be left with the UDNs which are subject to peer. So this is the first step and most easy step to identify the UDNs and assignments which are subject to peer. The query arises, sir, we generated hundreds of certificates. Uh, are, uh, are even certificates subject to peer review? Yes, sir. It doesn't matter for which purpose you generated UDI or you were required to generate UDI. But each assurance attestation function on which UDN is generated or you were supposed to generate the UDN, whether it is certification, whether it is internal audit, whether it is statutory audit, tax audit, compilation, provisional financials, prospective financials, all assignments all such assignments, interim audits, limited review, all such assignments are subject to peer. So what you need to do is you need to plot all such UDNs on this sheet and fill for each UDN, fill all the remaining columns for each UDN. For example, there was a UDN which was generated in, let's say, the signing date was, let's say, 31st July 2020. So for that UDN, you'll specify the UDN over here, and the year will be this one because the signing date falling in financial year 2020-21. Even if the UDN was of a tax audit and the tax audit was for the financial year 1920, it doesn't matter. It is a major confusion amongst the members, and that is why I am emphasizing so much that even if the financial year is of 1920, even if there is a delay in the audit and the financial year was of 1890, doesn't matter. What matter is signing date of the report issue. So accordingly, this needs to be filled. And then the type of engagement. Be very careful in filling this because sample will be selected on each of the parameters. So when you are writing, mentioning the figures over here, the description over here, so statutory audit, irrespective of the statute under which the audit was conducted, you need to specify here as statutory audit. The only exceptions are two. One is if the audit was conducted under Income Tax Act, you can specify it as a tax audit. If the audit was conducted under GST law, then you can specify GST audit. For all other statutes, simply specify statute. Other exception is internal audit. If the audit was conducted under mandatory under 138, Section 138 of Companies Act, then you need to specify internal audit. But if the audit was conducted under Trust Act, if the audit was conducted under Cooperative Society Act, specify you directly statutory. Then tax audit, I already mentioned, specify tax audit. For 3CEB, for TP audit, it is suggested to specify separately as TP audit. Internal audit specifically. Concurrent audit separately. Your then for all certifications, 15 CACB, your shareholding pattern certificate, director certificate, whatever certificate, turnover certificate, fixed asset certificate, whatever certificates we have issued, n number of n types of certificates, need not to specify separately. Simply write the word certification for all nature of certificate. No need to write separate. For provisional financials, the right term is compilation. You need to identify under which SAE, SRS you have conducted that assignment. If it is a provisional financials, they normally fall under compilation or compilation. Again, let me just make you aware one thing. There are cases where the auditor, being auditor of a particular entity, they issued provisional financials. That cannot be covered under compilation because of legally, auditor cannot engage himself or itself in the preparation of financial statements. And compilation is an activity which is in contradiction to the engagement of a peer review, of an auditor. So be very careful while filling that in none of the cases you are mentioning compilation. Instead, you can opt for limited review or whatever engagements, but you need to identify ways in case such a case or scenario exists. Then after your now you have mentioned all the type of engagements. Then call it EQCR. Sir, ma'am, it is hereby confirmed and repeated. Very emphasis is given. EQCR as per SQC1 is mandatory only and only where the audit assignment pertains to an entity which is covered under public interest entity definition provided under Volume 1 of Code of Ethics 2009. In the glossary, you have the definition. This is the definition. Meaning of public interest entity. In case your client is falling in this definition, only then it is suggested that only then mentioning yes is mandatory in this column and only for such UDI. Let's say you conducted, you have a listed client. Let's say you have a listed client and you mentioned it over here in this category. Okay. Now, let's say it's Reliance Industries, RIL. So Reliance Industries Limited, you mentioned over here, Reliance Industries. Okay. You need to write complete name firstly. Okay. So Reliance Industries Limited you mentioned. Then next is branch or head office of practice unit, not of the client. This is one of the most common thing, because in case of bank audits, let's say you conducted the audit of State Bank of India and you received three branches. So you need not to write the name of the branches you were allotted. No, you need to write, let's say you were allotted three branches of State Bank of India. Simply write State Bank of India, merge these cell, and then write HO or the branch of the FRN which conducted this audit. Let's say you mentioned, let's say your head office is in Salem. So simply mention HO. No need to write A, B, C, the branches you conducted. No. Then the signing partner. So this is what I wanted to convey for the bank audit. Let's come back to the original question on which we were. Reliance Industries Limited. Now, you mentioned the HO. Here, in the case of signing partner, let me mark, let me freeze it first. Let me freeze it. Hmm. Now, in case of signing partner, let's say or whosoever signed it, let's say ABC signed it. Now UDN, whatever the UDN is there, signing date fine. Let's say you conducted one assignment of statutory audit, one assignment of certification, one assignment of tax audit. So these three assignments you conducted. Okay, and that too in different years. Now you generated three UDNs. Okay. Now, in this case, yes is mandatory only in this case. In these two cases where statutory audit and tax audit. In case of certification, EQCR was not mandatory. So you need to be very careful on which area, on where you are mentioning yes or where you are mentioning no. Some members will say, how does it matter? We'll write yes in all the columns. Sir, let me tell you one thing. In case you are writing in yes in all the columns, in all the rows, now peer reviewer is mandatorily required to review the document of the EQCR, Engagement Quality Review Partner's document. In case of a proprietorship, you need to engage a person outside your firm and you need to incur additional cost. And in case of a partner, you need to have a document of review from another partner other than the signing partner. So only and only if you are mandatorily covered in EQCR, then it is mandatory to provide yes in this column. Otherwise, it is not mandatory. Rest, it depends upon the upon your QC policy. Then again, the turnover, borrowings, net worth. These three figures are to be filled for each UDIN, comma, wherever applicable. You cannot say that we generated thousand of 100, 1,000 UDINs in 3 years. How can we fill this turnover, borrowings, and net worth? Sir, it needs to be filled. There is no alternate to it. This submission is required and it needs to be filled. Now, the only thing is wherever applicable. Meaning thereby, in case of statutory audit, you need to fill all the three figures. Borrowings are nil, specify zero. In case of certification, now, if the nature of certification was such that you could have these three figures, only then you need to fill, otherwise simply write dash. For example, you issued a turnover certificate. So in case of a turnover certificate, you will be writing figures over here and simply write dash over here. In case of net worth certificate, you'll simply do this. In case of a certificates where fixed asset verification, in case where fixed asset value is being certified or name of directors is being certified or 15 CACB, simply write dash in all. So wherever applicable, this is what I wanted to. And further, UDN assurance engagement fee. UDN wise fee is required to be filled. You need not to submit to ICAI because there was a lot of lot of resistance by the CA firms for submission to ICAI such figures. So ICAI has delegated this to the peer review. So this is the format which needs to be submitted to ICAI. But peer reviewer, after the completion of peer review, submission of the report, there will be a standard query from peer review board to the peer reviewer, and the para will be in the manner that peer reviewer needs to confirm whether he or she has received complete UDI-wise client list for each partner of the firm, and whether the sample has been taken from such list, whether the list has been compared with the attestation register maintained by the firm. And fourth question, in the same question, there are four parts. Fourth question will be whether the UDN fees is compared or the same reconciles with the total fees mentioned in the balance sheet, or there is some reconciliation associated with it. Where is it written? It is written in this applicability of forms. In this you will find plus the email which the peer reviewer will receive, the appointment email. In that email, the peer review board provides one attachment as annexure G. In that attachment, there are certain instructions provided in it. In that, it is very much clearly provided that peer reviewer needs to confirm or verify the reconciliation of the figures provided in the balance sheet and filled over here, here in this column, here. So here you need to provide the figures of your financials, revenue figures. So this needs to be reconciled, or a reconciliation sheet needs to be provided by the firm to the peer. It is a requirement. So that is why, and other purpose of this P column is this question, which I wish to bring your notice. This question: has the PU received? PU is practice unit, CA firm. Has the practice unit received fees from a client below the minimum scale of fees recommended for audit? And if yes, reason for accepting fees below recommended scales. So in this, at this point, many members say we should rather answer vice versa. If there was any client in which we received minimum recommended scale, but sir, whatever the case is, whatever the scenario is, it is right in front of you. We need to answer this question, and as per sample selection criteria, it is mandatorily to pick at least one client in which fees was received less than minimum scale, because peer reviewer needs to verify and confirm at the very end to the peer review. So be very careful in writing all these things, because this is I'm emphasizing and taking my time here because it is very important. And if if because entire peer review is based upon this particular client list only, entire peer review. Now, based on the based on the based on the UDNs filled over here, all the clients need to be categorized in all these categories, 11 categories. So if any of the client is falling under above 10 categories, then fine. Otherwise, all clients will be falling under any other. Now, ICAI requires, this is the sample selection criteria. This is the sample selection criteria provided by ICAI. At least 10 sample is mandatorily required to be selected by peer. At least 10 samples. So it is just opening. although it is based upon the turnover, but up to 5 crores of turnover of the firm, at least 10 samples are required. Beyond that, it increases in this manner. And what I bring to you, this is the criteria of sample selection. You can read it by yourself, but I'll just guide you one thing. Highest turnover client, whatever figures you are filling, highest turnover client is mandatory to be picked. When at least one client from each of the 11 categories is mandatory to be picked. At least one client from each of the office of the practice unit is mandatorily required to be picked. At least one client from each of the signing partner is mandatorily required to be picked. At least one client for each of the financial years is mandatorily required to be picked. At least one client for each of the type of engagement is mandatorily to be picked. Meaning thereby, you cannot say, sir, peer review in the peer review will just get our firm broad, bigger clients will get peer review, or the bigger assignments will get peer review. No, sir, it is not necessary. Even at least one certification is to be peer necessary. At least one compilation if it is there. So please be careful what you are writing over here. That is why I was emphasizing that you need not to provide type of certification, 15 CA, this, that. No, for all certifications, just write certification. Because whatever you are filling over here, for each type or distinctive type of description, for each description, at least one sample is to be picked. So be very careful of the description you are mentioning over here. So this is the detailed sample selection criteria. You can go for it. And there is one more requirement. This where were we in the uh, huh. So there is one more criteria actually associated to the peer review sample selection. One more criteria. I'll just it is mentioned over here. This. At least one client is to be picked, whatever you are filling over here. It is mandatory. What is it? So let's say the firm's turnover is 50 lakhs. Now, if there is any client on paper firm total turnover, not assurance, but total turnover of the firm is say 50 lakhs. Now, if there is any client or group of clients from which 15% of 50 lakhs 15% of the firm's turnover is being received 15% or more, then such client is to be mentioned over here. Let's take an example. 15% of if we are taking turnover to be 50 lakhs, then 15% would be, let's say 7.5 lakhs. Okay. 7.5 lakhs need not necessarily to be the audit fees, but the total audit assurance as well as non-assurance service total fees from a particular client for which the firm is performing a test function. Meaning thereby, if there is any client, so you prepare this client list first, then out of all the clients you are specifying over here, if there is any, in case of any client, the total compensation or assurance as well as non-assurance is increasing or breaching the 15% of the turnover limit, then it needs to be specified over here. And at least one client is to be picked as a sample from this. So this is the broad, broad sample selection criteria, which I wanted to discuss with you. If there is any query with respect to sample selection or with respect to this clientele format, if there is any query, please raise, and then only we'll proceed further. Secretary ma'am, you are saying something?
No, sir. I think we can proceed. People
Okay,
are
ma'am.
clear regarding it.
Okay, ma'am. So after this format, after this client list, once this client list is prepared, then what you need to do, this is where we were. Basically, we were at this point, period of assurance. This is basically you can fill from self-service portal. This will be filled from self-service portal. This serial number 11. This will be filled from your firm profile, firm constitution certificates. This will be filled for chartered accountants, employed or paid assistant. This will be filled as per your firm constitution certificate, consultants as per your internal records. This will be the last date, not during the 3 years period, but only the last 31st March 23, in case you are applying. Okay. Then this will be from your internal records, 31st March 23. Only the figures are to be provided, not names. Again, as per your firm constitution certificate. Now, in case the firm FRN is having any branch, only then this question is to be filled. Otherwise, not. And this needs to be filled very carefully. This is needs to be filled as per SQC 1. How is control procedure followed by branches? And one of the possible, because practically you might say that we are not following this, but as per SQC 1, there is a requirement of annual inspection irrespective of the size of the firm. You know, firm can say that we are having just 10 lakh of rupees of practice. How can we conduct this procedure, sir? It's mandatory as per SQC 1. It was formed and constituted way back in 2009. It was effective from 1st April 2009. So, as per SQC 1, 1st April 2009, effective from there, it is mandatory to have annual inspection, and accordingly, this needs to be fit that what exactly procedures you are following in case of branches. You can make it practical by saying that respective partners do that. There is no defined, or there is no inspection mechanism in great detail or supporting, but we do inspect or we do review, or mechanism in such that we do review thoroughly or on overall basis. I mean, language you need to draft, but this needs to be answered. And for each and every submission, I'm just reiterating the same. For each and every submission make in this form 1, it is carefully, each word is being checked by peer review board. Each word is subject to review of a peer reviewer, and peer reviewer needs to maintain documents, working papers, that how he or she has reviewed this particular point, because peer reviewers working papers are subject to be recalled up to 18 months by the peer review board. So be careful what you are specifying in this or anywhere in the form 1. This can be filled from your internal books of accounts. This we have already discussed. Then digital competency maturity model, fill only if it is not mandatory in nature. Firstly, fill only if you feel to fill it. Otherwise, even if you are writing not applicable, it is not going to bother much. This is basic KYC question. This is you can fill from internal records. Then now, in case any assignment was procured via tendering, then specify yes over here. And in the client detail, while you are specifying the name of the client, let's say we specified Reliance Industries, or let's say we specified ONGC, or any PSU, or any assignment you gained from this tendering process, you need, while after the name of the client, let's say Reliance Industries Limited, you need to specify in bracket tender. This is provided over here. The clients obtained through tender may please be marked with the word tender in bracket. And at least one client of tender category. Now, after this, these are just the representations that what engagements are not covered. We do not, but normally CA firms are, of course, do not generate UDN for this. The only point of emphasis over here is due diligence. Due diligence assignments are not covered. Now, SQC1. Entire peer review is the review of implementation of SQC1. So even the sample files which are being reviewed, they are not being reviewed that to check that you conducted audit in correct manner or not. No, they are being reviewed just to check whether SQC1 was implemented correctly or not. This is a difference. So SQC1 requires you to comply with SA, standards on auditing. SQC1 requires you to comply with auditing accounting standards. So that is why you need to have a checklist of standards on audit. So SQC1 implementation is being checked over here. And the very first question is, does the PU have a quality control manual in place? This is the very first question. And it is specifically required in writing whether the same has formally been documented and agreed upon by parties. So firm cannot say that we are following the culture of quality control for past 30 years, 40 years, but we are not having it written format. Sir, it doesn't matter. The requirement is formally documented QC manual. This is the requirement. You need to have a QC manual which must cover the aspects, all the aspects of SQC1. I'll just show you that what are the aspects of SQC1. Find this name actually. Actually, I'll show you just by searching over the Google. This is SQC1. This is SQC1. So I'm not going to discuss in detail the entire SQC1, but your QC policy, this is only a 33 pages document. The entire peer review is the review of these 33 pages, and the QC policy, whatever you must have drafted already for the firm, or in case you have not already drafted and going to get it drafted for the firm, then you must ensure that this SQC1, each of the elements is being addressed in the QC manual. Leadership, ethical, acceptance, human resources, all these aspects. Because if you can relate, entire peer review is word-to-word review of implementation of SQC. Leadership responsibilities for quality within firm. Leadership responsibilities for quality. So each of the question which is being asked over here, it is basically asked from this topic. And if you wish to have assistance of how to implement it or what type of policy you can have, you can go through these 33 pages, or there is a document called Implementation Guide to SQC1. I'll just there so that you can actually, if you wish to draft a policy by yourself, then you can draft by yourself. I'll just take you. This is Implementation Guide to SQC1. You can use this, any firm use this domain. This is as on date, it is effective as on date, it is valid as on date, since it is mandatory since 1st April 2009 till 31st March 25, it is effective. Because after 1st April 25, AQ or that SQMM new standard on quality standards are getting implemented. So they are effective from 1st April 25, but till then SQC1 is effective, and this is the it's 115 pages. You need not to go through it word by word. Whatever policies you wish to whatever policies you wish to develop for your firm, you can simply refer the index and migrate to that particular page. Firstly. Secondly, it is also containing several formats. So many CA firms are often end up with asking for the formats for how to do it, will get it prepared, whatever. Several formats are being available over here. So annual independence declaration, illustrative independence policies, and acceptance engagement form. Where these are being asked? See, this is being asked over here. I'll just show you. I'll just show. This is the question. Does the PU have the policy to obtain annual independence declaration from all personnel? Where is the format? Here is the format. Annual independence confirmation. Here is the format. Then another question. Another question. I'll relate you directly because it will become very handy for the firm to get it done. Then if the firm wishes to have that client continuation form, let me show you where is the question. This is the question. Does the PU maintain a client engagement acceptance and continuation form? This is the form it is being referred. So at least, if not entirely, but at least for the sample clients, basically, it is required for all the clients. Peer reviewer is going to check whether in the case of the sample clients selected, whether these formats, whether all the policies were complied with or not. So he or she will be asking, sir, please show the annual declaration of all the personnel. Signed annual declaration. Please show the continuation or acceptance engagement at the time of continuation is annual, acceptance at the time of acceptance of the engagement. In case of company, once in 5 years, in case of others, on annual basis. So these are the documents which are being referred over here. So you can take a reference of this implementation guide to draft your own QC policies. Okay. Now we were here. On the very first question we were. Now, these are the same questions which we discussed. That quality control manual, I already told you how you can get it prepared by yourself. Then, whom the firm, specific name is to be given. Very specific name, because the SQC1 requires you to designate the three people, to have three designations, three titles provided in your firm QC manual. One title is QC partner, quality control partner, ethics partner, independence partner, managing partner. Now, you can have multiple people for each of the title, or in case of a proprietorship, you can have single person for all, having been titled for all the titles, having been designated for all the titles. Or in case the partnership is of such nature, let's say two partners, three partners, you do not have so many partners. And even if you are having multiple partners, it is very much allowed in the SQC1 that even one partner can execute the responsibility of all the titles and designations. So, a specific name of the partner concerned is to be provided over. You cannot say partners, all partners, respective branch partners. No, a specific name is to be given. Why I'm saying is, or what I'm saying is, ki, why specific name? You can say even peer reviewer will get satisfied, but board will not get satisfied. What happen is, what I'm telling you is that even if you are able to convince the peer reviewer then peer reviewer, your questionnaire and peer review report will be submitted to ICAI peer review board. Board is asking such queries. Board is not accepting. Those areas where board is asking queries, those areas I'm bringing to your notice so that board, and after all activities completed and your peer review report gets submitted, at that time you should receive or you are in receipt of minimum number of queries. Because board is going to ask n number of queries based on your submission. That is why I'm suggesting what needs to be filled and how in limited manner it needs to be filled. Do not or avoid writing stories over here. Descriptive answer or narrative answers are to be avoided. Write very specific words only to the extent required. then I mean, all such questions are in that direction only. Who evaluates? Again, a specific answer. How often is this evaluation carried out? It can be on annual basis because annually at least one meeting, partners meeting is mandatorily required. So you can write it annually. You can write it at the time of acceptance of the client as well as annually. Whatever is your policy. Then, then question could be, how and when are the firm QC policies are shared on, you can say annual basis, or you can say they are in there on the firm server and it remained accessible to the entire firm, or you can say regularly, whatever is your case maybe. Whether refresher sessions are taken periodically, you need to have, when it comes to the minimum documents, minimum the nature of documents which the firm must have for each sample or other than sample, then you may please note that for each sample, you must have, to begin with, the first step is client acceptance. So you must have at least engagement letter. In case of a company, consent letter, ADT1, your appointment letter, board resolution. In case of a trust, resolution by the trustees. so and then all these documents are mandatorily required in each case. Engagement letter is also required in case of certification. You cannot say, sir, it's a certificate. Engagement letter, though, it's a matter of audits. No, engagement letter is required in case of certificates as well. Where will you get the format? Sir, you can get the format on Center on Audit Quality website, ICAI Center on Audit Quality website. You can get the formats of all types of engagement letters. Further, you can get the, for audits, you can get the certificate, you can get the engagement letter format in implementation guide or direct standard on auditing 210. Then in case of certificates, you can get the format of engagement letter in guidance note on certificates and reports. So here all template engagement letters formats are provided. Then this is the first step, engagement acceptance. Then it comes to execution, audit planning document, audit team composition, meaning by who all were there in the audit team. This, I'm telling you the nature of documents which are mandatorily required. So audit team composition, audit plan, detailed audit checklist, which is covering the aspects of SA, AS, income tax, companies act, whatever laws are applicable. But at least AS and your AS and AS, whatever are applicable in your case, particular client's case, and SC, they must get covered by a audit checklist. Then audit team, audit folder wise, I mean balance sheet item wise supporting documents. You cannot say all files are combined at a particular folder, sir. It can't be like that. They need to be very well organized. They need to be in a particular manner. A folder structure should be there, and it is very easy. I'm not saying that you do lot many things or you prepare in a different manner. No, if it is physical, provide place an index over the file and mark the colored strips or flyers that from here it's all fixed asset bills. From here it's all TDS return, whatever manner. And if it's in your server virtually, if you are showing, then separate folders should be there for each assertion or for each item of the balance sheet and P&L. Then your observation report or query sheet or the observations you I mean these are the results of your actions audit procedures performed. So observation report is mandatory for each audit. It may not be necessary for certifications, but for audit at least observation report is mandatory. In the observation, you need to write the observations, and then each observation, what action was taken, is also needs to be documented. Meaning thereby, let's say there are 10 or 15 observations. It could be in any format, Word, Excel, whatever you want. Let's say you prepared in Excel. So in column A, you mentioned serial number. Column B, particulars or observation. Column C, remarks or management comments. You might say that, sir, the client is a trader entity. They have a part-time accountants, or they are not even literate enough that they can give answer explanation in English. Then how will we ensure it? It is impractical. No, sir, it is practical. You have to make it practical because it is mandatory. So what you can write is, on behalf of the client, based upon your verbal discussion, based upon the meeting you held with the client to discuss the same, you need to provide the management remark. You need to write a brief summary. And if you wish to make it sure, 100% pakka karna hai, then what you can do is you can get it printed and get it signed by the client that yes, this is what I asked. Then after management remarks, management comments, you need to have a column of auditor remarks. And in the auditor remarks or status column, each point must have been closed. There cannot be even a single point which is open before the signing date of audit. So please ensure before submission to the peer reviewer, each of the point in the observation report is closed, concluded. Then after checklist, after observation, management representation letter is mandatorily required. After MRL, detailed MRL is required. Then after MRL, signed financial statements and signed audit in case of audit. In case of certification, signed certificate is required. So this is the minimum number of documents for each sample client. When it comes to audit checklist, ICAI has very well provided you the template checklist and template audit formats. Let me just show you where they are being provided. ICAI has very well provided all these formats for ease. On 3rd July 2023, published there. It is just getting opened. These are the audit working paper templates. You click on this link, entire PDF will open. It is a multiple, many pages. And for each assertion, PDF as well as editable Word file is being provided. For each assertion, whatever working paper you wish to make or you wish to get it implemented in a prospective manner, you can simply use this template as well. For the case, for the matter applicable in your case. I'm not going to go through it completely, but just making you aware that such a document exists for the ease of the members to use. It's a very big document because it is covering a lot many aspects. So whichever assertion you wish to cover, whichever activity you wish to cover, or for whichever activity you wish to make a working paper, ICAI has already provided you a template format. And in addition to that, checklist on standards on auditing is being provided over here on this link. Further, in case at the point of accounting standard board website, yes, checklist being provided. AS disclosure checklist is being provided. Ind AS disclosure checklist is being provided. So whatever is your case, you can use and refer those checklists when it comes to checklist, and the working paper formats could be in this manner. If you, and you can customize it. I mean, it is not necessary to use this format, and you can customize it, and whatever is your case, whatever is your situation, whatever is your case scenario applicable, you can use this formats as per your convenience. Okay. Then we were here on this point, refresher sessions. Huh. So we were on the point that minimum number of documents to be prepared. So I told you for each sample what minimum documents are to be prepared. Then a written QC manual is mandatorily required. CPE records, extractor from CPE portal, it is to be covered by peer reviewer. Then website I already mentioned. Then at least 2 to 3 refresher sessions or the training sessions of the article assistants or whatever staff you are having in your office. At least 2 to 3 training sessions proof you should have in your file. And there is no format associated to it. Simply write the nature of the topic, date, venue. It can be your office, of course, it can be your office cabin. Date, venue, time, topic, speaker. Speaker could be any of your employee, any of your staff member. You can be the speaker. I mean, it is not necessary that you bring somebody from outside. Anybody can speak on any topic. And then members, attendees, name of such people, staff members, and the initials or signatures of such people. And firm stamp. This can be your document as a proof that that such training session was conducted. This is mandatorily required to prove various points. One of the question is this, as well as it is a supporting to your SQC1 implementation. So as a peer reviewer, this is mandatorily required to be checked. Then these questions depends upon your HR policies. Yes, HR policy is also required. ICAI has given you draft HR policies also. It is not mentioned on auditing and assurance board. It is mentioned on there is a, I mean, I'm not I cannot recollect it right now, but there is a module where there is a compilation by ICI committee, one of the committees for committee for capacity building of members. There is a publication where there is a publication practice of a small practice unit, something like that. So there is a publication in which HR manual or sample HR manual or policies for small practitioners is being given. So you refer that and customize your own. Then, of course, these are their IT tools, not necessarily your audit tools, but IT tools include your Computex, your Genius software, your Excel, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, JPG, Adobe PDF. All these are IT tools. Tally, whatever accounting software, all these are IT tools. So yes, when you are referring the IT tools, you need not to uh, think in your mind that why the audit tools are being referred. No, IT tools, even those Adobe PDF, this Microsoft Word are also IT tools. Library could be two. One is the physical library of the books in your office, and other one is the virtual or digital library, which you can in which you can provide links of the ICI. All ICI essay links, whatever links you have, ICI TV, you can provide the links and you can prepare a digital library. Then ethical requirements, as I mentioned, designated independence and ethics partner is required. As I mentioned, this can be same. So is the partner same as QC partner? Yes, you can mention. It is very well accepted. Now the question is this. There are 5 type of threats, and For each type of threat, you need to answer these questions. Self-review threat. So there is a specific question. Please see what are the steps taken by the practitioner so that self-interest threat to independence are mitigated. You need to write steps. What will you write? So many members must be hearing or might be hearing for the first time that there are 5 threats and you need to answer it very specifically. So self-interest threat, self-view threat, advocacy, familiarity, all these threats needs to be answered that how taking care of each of these threats. Any checklist has been outlined. What is the mechanism? You need to specify over here. Now, possible answer could be in the manner that, for example, how the firm is taking of self-interest threat. Declarations. How the firms take care of it. It's a self-declaration. So on annual basis, the format I showed to you in the implementation guide to SQC1, you can specify in it that each staff member, each partner needs to confirm that if he or she or any of the family members of that particular member, that particular staff member is having any interest, financial interest or ownership interest in any of the clients appendix or attached with that declaration. Simple. It could be one of the answers. One of the answers in self-review thread could be that uh, in the self-review thread could be that even if the firm is undertaking the GST return filing, ITR filing, TDS return filing, ROC filing of the audit client, but we have separate teams. Audit team is separate, that team is separate, and it is allowed under code of ethics. So you need to come out with the actual things which are there effective in your office, and you need to answer it accordingly in these cases. Then I mean all these cases, familiarity threat is the similar could be the answer, or we are using standard formats, standard audit manual with no compromise or no adjustment or no favoritism to a particular client, irrespective of how many years we have conducted. Okay, so this is how you need to answer. Then this could be the answer that does the firm having the policy of rotating out senior personnel. Now, some firms may say that we are in dearth of senior personnel staying with our firm because young generation is going into in jobs with big fours and industry. They are not joining practice or they are not ready to join the CA firms. Seniors are becoming difficult to continue with the firm or to retain in the firm. So, yes, I understand. But there is, if the requirement is such, what answer you can provide here is, let's say 3 to 5 years. Because practically, in every 3 to 5 years or 5 to 7 years, staff gets automatically gets changed. In especially even the managerial level person gets changed. And if he or she is not getting changed, you can specify that because it's a requirement of SQC. Again, it's a requirement of SQC1. So you can provide accordingly. Then this could be a part of your policy. I already mentioned you that illustrative independence policies are there. You can refer that. This needs to be part of your policy. Doesn't matter whether you are accepting or not. What is the specific question is whether there is a policy or not. In all your policies, just mention this one point and your purpose is served. Then next question. If we talk about next question, then under the prevailing circumstances, Companies Act, all these limits, 50% work that for each of the client for which public interest entities. Again, these are of the PSUs that if you are doing the work of PSUs, your non-audit fee cannot increase your audit fees. This is the point. Then minimum scale we have discussed. Network for the tender clients, in case tender clients are there, then only this needs to be filled, otherwise not applicable. If FRRB or such things existed in your case, then only it needs to be filled. Otherwise, write dash or not applicable. Please ensure none of the column, none of the question, none of the space available or asked can remain blank. Each question needs to be answered, whether you write dash, you write nil, you write not applicable, but every question needs to be answered. Then this I have already explained. Client continuation acceptance form. Again, specific answer. Who is responsible for completing this form? Specific questions, specific answers. Then whether such a form is covering the your checklist is covering all these aspects are or not. You can refer the format. I already recommended you one format provided by ICAI itself. Then one more thing which I wish to bring to your notice is this is the HR part. I already referred you one publication of ICAI itself, which you can refer to prepare your own policies. And one more thing, it is not necessarily to answer yes in this question. No, it is not necessary. If the structure of your firm is such that dedicated HR is not required, and if the partners are respective partners are looking after their teams, respective managers are taking care of the members under them, it is not necessary to have a dedicated HR. And even if a query comes from the peer review board, then also if you are able to justify, then they are accepting. They are not emphasizing that you must have a full-time HR. They are not emphasizing. Then such questions are there where I think there is one more question of appointment letter. I'll just show you. Uh, these questions, I understand. I mean, these questions that whether does the firm maintain and monitor employee turnover ratio? I mean, members say, sir, there is only turnover. People are not getting retained in the firm. There is only turnover in the firm. Sir, I understand. But if you are preparing, then specify. If you are not preparing, not major implication is there. Similarly, this question is on the same lines, whether minimum staff to partner ratio is there or not. Then there is one question of appointment letter. Appointment CP, I already discussed with you. There is one question of appointment letter which I'm just not able to identify right now. It is mandatorily being asked and required to be reported by the peer reviewer in Annexure 1. So make sure for the staff you are having in your office, specified as on 31st March, at least for some, you must have signed appointment letters with you to showcase to the peer. Please ensure. Then engagement performance. This is as per your checklist, which I already explained, essay wise checklist. Why essay wise? Because I'll just show you the reporting format, which is required to be filled by the peer reviewer. I'll just show you. All these are as per the checklist. There is nothing much about it. I mean, it can be filled easily. Uh, does the PU have a QC? I've already mentioned here. Even if the firm is not having listed entity, then also it needs to be filled yes, because the requirement is, you cannot say not applicable because it is applicable. You need to mention and specify yes over here, because the firm is mandatorily required to have a policy, even if they are not doing listed entity, because the policy is as per SQC1. So you need to specify in terms of EQCR, you need to specify that EQCR, we are following the policy that we will do it. We will make it mandatory only in case of audit assignments of public interest entities, where you can mention it. Public interest entities include listed entities. So automatically your answer submission over here becomes affirmative. And then here in this point, you can answer audit engagements of public interest entities. That is how it can be filled. And accordingly, these questions can be answered affirmatively. Because if the firm is not having listed entity, then also these can be answered very easily as affirmative because it is otherwise not applicable. But here it is not being asked that whether you are doing or not. Only being asked is whether procedures exist or not, or procedures are being followed or not. So accordingly, documentation of QC review, you can specify we do not have such client, or you can specify that yes, that the same was followed based upon your professional judgment. Okay. EP is engagement partner. Engagement partner is the signing partner. Then monitoring again. One or two things I wish to bring to your notice this particular question. These two questions. So firstly, how frequently? You can write it annually. You can write it as and when required, whatever suits. When was the last revision? You cannot say recently. You cannot say, I mean, general terms cannot be used. You need to specify very precise answer. Even if you are not comfortable with specifying the date per se, then at least specify the month and year. Let's say December 2023, January 24, February 24, whatever you wish to write. But you need to specify over here the month because the corresponding reporting is required by peer reviewer in annexure 2 of peer review report. So specify accordingly. Then these are the broad, I mean, CP records have already covered. These are the broad part B. Part C, please ensure, unless it is mandatorily applicable on the firm, please do not fill it. It is a common error made by CA firms that they simply take the printout and start filling it. It is mandatorily applicable only for these clients. So if your clientele list is not having any such client, please do not fill AQMM. What you can do is simply delete the entire content from here till here, delete the entire content and simply write not applicable in ours. Simply write not applicable in ours. You need not to fill this because if you fill it, it becomes mandatory for peer reviewer to answer it and to check it. And it becomes mandatory for the peer review board to review. So if it is not applicable for you, do not fill it. If it is applicable for you, please do not, it is suggested to not go blindly in the peer review, but prepare a detailed audit manual of your firm. You must be in possession of a detailed audit manual of your firm before going for AQMM review. And such audit manual must cover all the points mentioned, or at least majority of the points mentioned in the AQMM. And the points include, let's say broadly, you can very well yourself see presence of audit manual containing the first methodology that complies with auditing standards, standard formats. I mean, step-by-step procedure of how audit will be conducted and concluded A to Z, QC policies, all the related formats compiled in one document, that is audit manual. So unless while QC manual is mandatory for peer review part B, audit manual is, however, necessity of AQMM. So be very careful while you are filling this form. Apply only after you have prepared yourself. Otherwise, it will become very challenging for you as well as the peer reviewer to go through and complete the peer review in timely. This is the form 1. This is the first step. And why I took more than 1 hour on this particular step only because this is the primary step. Whatever submissions you are making at the very first step, they lay down the entire peer review procedure. Only this primary first step is the most crucial and important step in the entire peer review cycle. Then after form 1, Now, let's get back to the original part. The broad procedure of the peer review, entire procedure of peer review. So, first step is peer review, Form 1 submission. At this stage, I'll just recommend one thing. Before going to peer review, if it is possible, then it is recommended to get your pre-peer review conducted, either by your own staff member or by some of your friend, by some of your associate. Get pre-peer review done in informal manner, so that whatever deficiencies there are going to exist, at least you'll get it filled and then apply for peer. It's a suggestion where it actually smoothens the peer review procedure. Then after the questionnaire or form 1 is submitted to peer review board via online. Acha, one more thing. All submissions to peer review board at all stages, at all steps, are to be made virtually or digitally only. No physical paper is to be submitted. Only scanned copies or soft copies are to be submitted. So the entire questionnaire duly filled and signed need to be submitted need to be mailed to peer review board on the email ID I showed to you. Then peer review board will provide you a panel of 3 peer reviewers. Out of 3 peer reviewers, you can select any one of your choice. If you are not comfortable with any of the three, you can ask for a fresh panel. That is your right. Then after you select one peer reviewer, the institute will send a mail to the peer reviewer to get his or her consent that you have been appointed and selected by the firm as a peer reviewer. Do you consent or do you wish to do it? And if you do, kindly provide a consent. The consent is to be submitted in this format. Although email will contain the format, but still, all the formats are given over here. Form 2. This is the consent form, acceptability form. Then after the acceptance is being given, then practice unit, that is CA firm, needs to share the form 1 again, but this time with the peer review. So ICAI do not share the form 1 directly with the peer reviewer. Firm needs to share with the peer reviewer. And from this date, the tick-tock clock starts. So from the date from which peer review on which the CA firm shares the form 1 with the peer reviewer, from this date, within 15 days, entire peer review activity must have been completed. It's a very strict timeline, so be very careful and be very particular, because it has been observed that for even a single day delay, peer review board asks for an extension and reason. So it's a 15 very critical timeline. Be careful of it. Then after the peer review board, after the CA firm shares the form 1 with the peer reviewer is entitled to ask certain documents and certain information. Normally, and the format for it is here. Format for asking such documents is here. Format for seeking additional information, Form 6. Normally, they ask UDNY's client list in Excel format so that sample can be created, and they ask for QC manual and audit manual copy. Normally, peer reviewer asks for these documents. Then, peer reviewer creates a sample. I already should discuss the sample selection criteria. Peer reviewer create a sample and then shares with the practice unit in this format. Form 5. On the second page, sample is given, and on the first page, date of visit is given. So if the peer review is being conducted online, date of review online. If the peer review is conducted physically, then date of visit of the peer. And if you notice, then Then within 6 days, it is to be conducted. There is no such thing that after providing sample, there is no concept of 15 days anymore. So you will not get time. Firm is not going to get time to prepare or organize the documents. Lot of time to organize the documents. That is why I recommended that at least have pre-peer review done of the clients or samples as per your wishes in advance. That in case there is a change in sample or there are few clients in addition to sample, firm is ready and get the documents organized immediately. Because there will not be time available after receipt of sample and between the visit of the peer review. So please take a note of it. Earlier, there was ample time available in the previous regime. Now it is not there. Then after the on-site visit, after the peer reviewer prepare its notings, everything is noted and on-site visit is done. Then peer reviewer may, if there is any query, if there is any adverse remark, peer reviewer may issue preliminary report. In case peer reviewer issues a preliminary report, then for each point in preliminary report, peer review practice unit, that is CA firm, needs to reply to each point. And further, for each point, each reply by the CA firm, peer reviewer needs to reconfirm and provide remark against each point. So it's a 3 documents: preliminary report, responses by the CA firm, and then remarks of peer. And all these 3 documents are to be submitted to ICAI peer review board at the time of submission of final peer review report. Then after this report, preliminary report, if the peer reviewer is satisfied and intends to issue clean peer review report, then this is the model final report, and this is the annexure 1, annexure 2, and annexure 3 is for AQMM. I'm not discussing AQMM. Annexure 1 and annexure 2, these are the formats. This needs to be filled for each point. And when I was saying, I'll show you, just let it open. Yeah, when I was mentioning that 15 days are being counted, this is the date. So you'll mention that date on which question I received, 15 days are being counted from here. Then when I was mentioning that appointment letter is required, here preliminary report is to be mentioned over here. Just give reference of the annexure. No need to reproduce all the points. Just give reference of the then this is the whether appointment letters are properly being issued. Specific question. That is why I mentioned that you please take care of it. Tender specific question. Then again, one more question was there. This question: has the practice unit shared quality control manual? Is it in line with SQC1? So specific questions are again for the annexure 2. When I was saying when I was mentioning that essay-wise checklist or audit checklist should mandatorily cover essays and AS. Why I was mentioning it? Because if you see, this is the annexure 2 of the final peer review report. See, questions a peer reviewer needs to confirm essay-wise. Essay 300, 315, 330. Specific questions are required to be answered by the peer reviewer. So if your documents, if you have audit essay wise checklist in place, then it will become very easy for the peer reviewer to submit clean peer review. This is the practical aspect which I wanted to share. Then after the peer review report, so peer review report is to be drafted but not to be submitted to ICAI directly. No, the step is peer reviewer will first submit it to the CA firm, and then CA firm the report as well as the fees check. Oh, sorry, fee bill. Peer reviewer fees bill. So fees is given over here. This is the minimum recommended fees. This is the minimum recommended fees. I just yeah. This is the minimum recommended fees. It is just opening. This is the minimum recommended fees. And TADA additional, it can be increased, but it cannot be reduced. Plus, peer review fees is to be paid in individual capacity of the peer review. So if the peer reviewer is a partner of a CA firm, then the peer reviewer cannot raise an invoice from his CA firm. No. Peer reviewer invoice is to be raised from individual capacity. So if the peer reviewer is proprietor and GST is registration is available, then yes, of course, naturally, peer reviewer invoice will also have GST applicable to it. Otherwise, no. And it is required when the invoice is being shared with the CA firm. CA firm needs to pay it in banking channel only, and proof of receipt in the bank account of the peer reviewer, not check, but proof of receipt in the bank account of the peer reviewer is to be submitted. Screenshot of the bank statement or bank proof of transfer is to be submitted with the peer review report to the ICAI. So after this step, after the peer reviewer submits peer review report to the CA firm, and the bill is submitted to the CA firm will make payment of the peer review fees subject to TDS deduction, of course. Then peer reviewer will submit this form. Just let me show you. Peer reviewer will submit this form number 9. Peer reviewer needs to submit one form number 9. This form number 9 is to be submitted, signed and submitted by the peer reviewer to the CA. He says that I have received the fees and I have submitted you the following documents. See, annexure 1, annexure 2, annexure 3 if applicable, final report. I am submitting everything to you, and this is will be signed by peer reviewer, and this will be signed by CA firm that we received this document along with all the peer review files, that is final report, annexure 1, annexure 2, annexure 3, questionnaire, sample, preliminary report, see a proof of receipt of fees, questionnaire, all these communications, all these documents are to be compiled in a single PDF in a order with one index above it. Index format is not available in public domain. It will be provided by peer review board in the appointment email. The email in which appointment is being made, in that email, there is one annexure of the index. Okay, that what reports are to be submitted, what documents are to be submitted by the peer reviewer to the board. So that index will be on the top, and below it, all such documents are to be provided. Then single PDF is to be mailed by the peer reviewer to the CA, to the peer review board with CC to the CFO. And then peer review board in few days, 2 to 3 days or some days, peer review board will ask queries. Do not think that query will not come. Do not get happy that peer review board queries are not coming, and do not get afraid if lot many queries have come. Sir, it is part of their mandatory SOP that they need to ask queries. So some standard queries are anyway there, even if everything is fine. So you need to answer all the queries in writing via return email, resolve all the queries of peer review board, and then peer review board will issue one email. In the title of the email, it will be written completion email. On the day you receive, that day you should get happy that peer review is now completed, in terms that now after this email is received, nothing is to be done. Then peer review board meeting will be conducted till the last, till mid of February, till the last board constitution. On every Friday, the board meeting was getting conducted. Now it is after reconstitution, the model has been changed. It is yet to be finalized that how it will be proceeded further, going further, whether it will be on every Friday or what will be the regularity of it. It is not yet decided. But whenever the peer review board meeting will be conducted, on that day, your certificate will be signed, and immediately after the board meeting, on the next day or a few days after, or 1 or 2 days after, you will get an email which will have peer review certificate number. This email is valid for all legal purposes, which requires you to have a valid peer review certificate. And after this email, after 2 to 3 weeks from the date of this email, it is generally seen that physical peer review certificate is received by the firm at their office. This peer review certificate is valid for a period of 3 years, except in the case of new unit where it is valid for a period of 18 months. In all the cases, rest of the cases, it is valid for a period of 3 years. So this is the broad peer review procedure and related practical aspects of handling. If anybody is having any query related to it, please ask.
Sir, with regard to the applicability, so currently, for firms having 4 or more partners, it will be applicable from 1/4/24. So,
I actually forgot to discuss. I thought to discuss to begin with that discussion, but it got skipped from me. I'll just show you the
because
mandate
I
part.
just wanted some clarity. What if the partner resigns and then there
Yeah,
is change in the
yeah.
constitution of the firm?
It actually got skipped from me. Uh, I thought to begin with that. This is the mandatory part. It is publicly visible as I narrated through it. This is the table which is relevant for you. Just focus on this table. And in this table, just take this 1st April 23 date as 1st April 24, because it was later get extended. No other change in this table except 23 change to 20. This particular, no other change. So for listed entities, already 1st April 22. Now there are two criteria how to read it. There are two ways to read it. One is, firstly, read the after or paragraph. So for any firm with FRN having 5 or more partners or 4 or more partners, let's say 4 or more partners primarily, if any FRN is having 4 or more partners, irrespective of a work what they are doing, for performing attestation work, for performing to accept any statutory audit, tax audit is also covered under it. Okay. So for any audit under any statute, before accepting for 4 or more partners, there is a prerequisite of having a valid peer review certificate. So if the bank audit is being allotted in the end of the March, and if you're not having valid peer review certificate, you can accept. But from 1st April, if you're not having valid peer review certificate and if the firm is 4 or more partners, they cannot accept. They cannot accept. Forget the signing. They cannot accept. And even after acceptance, after 1st April, if the firm is not having if such firm, 4 or more partners, firm is not having peer review certificate, they cannot perform attestation function. I mean, they cannot sign that balance sheet. So one way is 4 or more partners, and then then from 1st April 25, 3 or more partners. This is one part of it. Secondly, other way around is, if the any firm, even if it's a proprietorship firm, even if it's a firm of two partners, if they are undertaking assignments of such nature, where the turnover of the client is 1,000 crores or more, or borrowings are 50 crores or more, then even a proprietorship is required to get their peer review certificate before 1st April 20. Even a proprietorship. And accordingly, even a proprietorship or a partnership firm of two or more partners, two partners also, if they wish to get the bank audits, then if they wish to undertake bank audits, then even such proprietorship or two partner firms are required to have certificate before 1st April 20. So this is the way of reading this statement.
Okay, sir. And what is the date for reckoning that four or more partners they say, no? Is there any date, like as on this date, there should be four or more partners?
Ma'am, actually, any date after 1st April.
24.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say on 10th of April, you had three partners. First of April, you had three partners. As on date, you are having three partners. But on 10th of May 2024, you reconstituted the firm, and now the firm is of four partners. Since 10th of May, unless you have a valid peer review certificate, you cannot sign any statute.
Okay.
Okay, so this is how it is to be read.
Okay, sir. Fine. Thank you.
Any other queries of any member? Anything in chat box or any queries you have?
Sir, with regard to the fees, if the peer reviewer wants, he can ask for reimbursement of his travel claim or increase his fees also, sir.
Yeah, travel TADA is additional to the minimum fees. It is not mandatory, although minimum fees is mandatory. TADA is optional, but yes, it is allowed to charge TADA in addition to the minimum fees. And there is no limit to it per se. Because if you have a peer reviewer from Delhi, then all the travel fare, airfare will be reimbursed on actual basis.
Okay, fine, sir.
So any other queries, ma'am? Anybody?
Sir, can you highlight more on ECQR, sir? Engagement quality control.
Okay. Ma'am, basically, EQCR in layman terms, it is just like that one partner, after everything is done, I'm telling broadly, okay?
Yeah.
So if everything is done just before issuance of audit report and after completion of audit, if there other than the signing partner and other than the CA or any member involved in that audit in any capacity, a separate independent what we say non-interested uninvolved partner or uninvolved practicing CA, whether working in the capacity of partner in the firm or outside the firm, not a partner or employee of the firm, but even an outsider CA, your associate can be EQCR. Okay, so such unrelated CA needs to review the overall audit, not in detail, not in minutes, but on overall basis, whether the processes were followed, checklists were followed. Broadly, the audit is being conducted as per the ICAI guidelines and audit manual. MRL was taken, broad checkpoints. It is upon the volition of the CA firm that what points they cover in the EQCR checklist. Okay, it is upon the volition. But broadly, it could be like engagement letter was there, audit composition letter format was there, or filled checklist were there, MRL was taken, observation report was there. Each point in the observation was resolved. I mean, broad points. Whatever you have, your signed financial statements are there. So broad points are there. Before issuance of, signed financials may not be there necessarily, okay, na? Because they are signed along with the audit report. So broad points are there that EQCR or engagement quality control reviewer needs to review only the broad points and give his or her comments, if any, and need to prepare a signed document that yes, I reviewed these aspects and I found these deficiencies or did not find any deficiency. If deficiencies, team needs to take care of it. If no deficiency, then simply sign the audit report and issue. Simple.
Okay, okay, sir. But in form 1, while filling the annexure, ECQR is done. There is a question relating to it, isn't it, sir? You explained on it. There, public interested entities alone, mandatory, it is yes. For others, it is not mandatory. We can even put a hyphen and close it. Yes, sir? Okay.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
not necessarily to hyphen. Just in the client list, mention when you are providing the client list to ICAI, na, union wise client list. Just mention in the EQCR whether EQCR done. Simply mention no.
Okay.
And in your submissions of clause 17 to 20 of that part, simply say that we have a criteria of EQCR only in the cases of public interest entities.
Okay,
In
okay,
others, we do
understood,
not
sir.
feel the need.
Okay. Most of the firms, I think, while filling the applications, they go wrong in these clauses, what I asked for. So I just
Yes,
wanted to make it clear once again. Thank you, sir.
Haji, no problem. Anything else, ma'am?
Think in the chat box there is no query, sir. Chairperson, can we wind up?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am, we can wind up.
Okay. Ayush, it was a wonderful session. You have run through the whole process, detailed from the application part to the peer reviewer. It was an amazing session, actually. So I think the participants would have understood the entire process, how to initiate the application to the day when the process will get completed. You have covered the entire thing, and I'm very happy, sir. Definitely, our participants would have gained a lot from your session. Thank you, sir. Thank you on behalf of the Salem branch of ICAI. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Ayush. In a short notice, you have
Thank you, ma'am.
accepted our invitation, and for now, only members with of firms with 4 or more partners are showing the interest. I think as and when the timelines are coming, they'll understand the importance of peer review and gear up towards that. And thanks a lot for your insights, Ayush. Again, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you, all
Thank you,
members.
ma'am. Thank you all,
members.
ma'am. Thank you.